Hello, everyone, and welcome back after a minute to the Red Sea podcast. This is Dennis, as always, and as I've kept you all updated on the socials, 2026 in general has been one unexpected issue after the other. Had some YouTube things that we had to clear out, but all is good, all is well. Thankfully, because YouTube is a competent platform and a very helpful one, the issue got resolved in a matter of 2 days. So we're back, not counting Sunday, of course, because we're all humans after all. And we're back with a show that I feel like every recent mini return has been with a result like this. I don't know why. But yeah, Olympiacos isn't doing amazing, domestically at the very least. And I'm thankfully not alone. So how are you, man?
Can't complain. It's good to be back, but unfortunately, discussing a pretty frustrating result, as you said. But hopefully, as we'll talk about, this can be another wake-up call heading into Europe, like we saw this last window. Hopefully, this is the fire that the team needs to really turn it up and get a couple of important results in the Champions League.
In the Champions League and domestically, because God knows domestic football has been something in 2026. We need a wake-up call in general, and we need it fast. A lot has happened. We'll get into that. Ever since the game on Saturday, some stuff has gone on. Today, we saw, of course, Marinakis going to ready and talking with the players. Mendilibar, Dani Garcia talking, Rechos, Dani, and in general, finally some leadership showing up, not only by Marinakis, but from the players themselves as well. And perhaps finally a sign of them taking the responsibility they said that they would, and everyone taking the responsibility that they said they would, because it's really been on Mendy lately and no one else. But yeah, heading into the game, I don't know how I don't know how else to open it. Like what happened? Even looking through some stats, I know expected goal is a bit of a BS meter, but even if you look at that, you're looking at the 0.16 of Olympiacos, who of course had Palacios, a disallowed goal and stuff like that, and they really had one more chance. And now it's just 2.22 with 3 big chances. 2. And 23 total shots. Like, defensively, it worked so well. Even though fullback-wise, but even Biancon was very good, that I say. Bounced back after his horrific Panathinaikos performance. But it really felt like the ball went up to Ese. And then it was Zelson, go. We had no plan. We had nothing. And I'll say it off the top because I've gotten into a lot of discussion over this, talked with both sides. This really felt like the first game where everybody was at fault. Everyone. A player or two, like I'd take out Zelson and Prechos probably. And then you have everyone that's at fault. From the players to Mendy this time. I am putting blame on him as well because 6 out of 53 crosses against a 10-man Olympiacos is something undescribable, and in general. So, first thoughts?
I mean, to me, it reminded me a lot of the Paphos game. I mean, very similar scenario and the way that things played out. Red card in the first half, and basically after that, us not being able to capitalize on anything. And like you said, it was one of those situations where, and I think that this has been more of a story than a lot of people have been talking about, with it being on everyone. A lot of people have been running to put blame on Mendilibar, have been running to put blame on specific players. And I'm not saying that those people don't deserve blame, but to act like this is an issue of one or two people is ridiculous. I mean, you really saw it, and nobody had any ideas. The fact that you mentioned Biancon, the fact that our center back was probably our best chance creator in the last 10-15 minutes, that's a problem. That says a lot about the 7 other guys that were playing in front of him. And I think it's just getting into the mental aspect of some of the issues we've seen with Olympiacos this season, is we get into these lulls. And I think we saw it towards the, right before the winter break, and then coming back in the league. We had our wake-up call, and it looked like we turned it up in the Champions League, and we were happy that we had finally turned a corner, and then all of a sudden we're back into it. And I think I really hope that what happened in the past couple of days with Marinakis, with some of the players speaking out, I hope that these past 2 results, but this Olympiacos result specifically, are taken to heart, because again, you can't be
It's AEK as well.
What'd you say?
It's AEK as well. It's AEK, Panathinaikos, and Olympiacos.
Oh yeah,
we've gone winless for 3. We've gone scoreless for 2.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it goes back to the point. I mean, the last derby we won, I was there for it. That was back in October. So I mean, that's getting to that point where, again, you have to sit there and say it is unacceptable, but at the same time, you can't get reactionary. You can't, people calling for selling half the squad and firing the manager. I mean, that's obviously an overreaction. But there does need to be a standard set, and I am glad that Marinakis is doing something. Again, there's going to be varying opinions on whether or not what he did and said was the right thing. But something has to be done, and we're at a make or break point of the season, because, like you said, obviously we really do want to focus on the Champions League. It poses a major opportunity for us financially, for our coefficient in Europe, to help continue to bolster our position in these competitions, and how easily we're able to qualify for them. But I mean, you're running the risk now of not winning a trophy this season, other than the Super Cup. But I mean, a major trophy, the league or the cup. We're already out of the cup. Now you have the league. I mean, so that's a big deal. And do you want to sacrifice Champions League next season to win a game or 2 against Leverkusen? You're really running that risk of putting all your eggs in one basket. So hopefully this can be a reset. Hopefully it can be a wake-up call. We have a short turnaround from this game, which I think might be a better thing than if we had a week off, because it doesn't give you the time to sit there and think about it. And you really just has to get back to the mindset of, like we were talking about a month ago, we have 7 finals now, 5 in the league, 2 in Europe, and you really need to win 6 of those games at a minimum.
Yep. I mean, you made the main point I was going to make. It's not just the fact that the league is the main goal always. That's self-evident. That's a thing for Olympiacos. That's been a thing for Olympiacos. But it's Champions League at play again. It's direct Champions League at play again. And if you lose the league, you miss out on Champions League again, which should be an extra motive for the players, at least, especially with the chance we have with a coach that can actually actively get us into the knockouts without any major doubt, really. And it's exactly like you said. You can afford a loss in Europe, depending on how the game in a few days goes. We'll get into that game as well. You can't afford a loss until the playoffs. Domestically, you can't. The worst case scenario should be a draw against PAOK. That should be the worst case scenario. If you lose against PAOK, the chances are very slim. Very slim. I'm not going to say none, because in regards to Olympiacos and titles, they'll never write us out unless we're mathematically out of it. But if you lose to PAOK, if you lose another derby, and it's not just the points, you'll go into the playoffs with one win in the derbies, like an equal worse record with like a Panathinaikos. And it's only momentum-wise that you'll go into the playoffs, because I'm pretty sure PAOK is the second to last match day before the playoffs. I'm pretty sure the last one is AL. And yeah, you need to focus up, because even if it's, as you had said, with that loop being a bit continuous this season, this time we need to wake up and stay there, because anything more than a loss, God forbid, 2, legs done, and you've failed all your main goals of the season. And then the summer is looking scarier than ever. But as I said, I'm never gonna write Olympiacos out of the league, because solely we are the club that we are, right? And we've pulled off more impossible things. But reeling it back into the game specifically, it really felt, I guess it's not that specific, because I'm going to pose a question. Why is this the first time, at least, that I've personally went on to experience this? The opponent goes to get a red card, and you feel like you're at the disadvantage. I can't physically, like, who do you think is, because that's a fact. We've seen that time and time again. Where do you think that falls to, at least mostly, because it falls to a lot of things, at least most?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things we've talked about Olympiacos, a few times this season, praising them because of what they've done in the league. It is genuinely impressive, a club of their stature, achieving what they've achieved, but they've also done it playing football, right? So, like you said, when a team that actually does want to play loses a player and is forced to go into Harambol, that's obviously going to be a disadvantage as it is. But I think, like you mentioned earlier, it really goes down to just not really having a set plan for those situations. And this is something we've talked about forever for Olympiacos. I mean, we've always struggled against low block teams who want to sit in. And I think it gets to a point now, especially, we've talked about it at length, probably one of, if not the most talented Olympiacos squads ever. I mean, how many playmakers do we have in this squad? How many playmakers are on the fields on Saturday? And you can't figure anything out. Is it a case of, too many cooks in the kitchen? Is it the case of not having a plan from Mendilibar? I think it's kind of a combination of all of those things. And I mean, that has, at a certain point, this is where titles are won and lost in the league. It's one thing if you can go into the playoffs and win 3/4 of your games, which Olympiacos usually does when we're operating as we should be. But I mean, how many times we dropped against Kifisia? We just dropped against Olympiacos. I mean, how many other times this season did we just barely escape dropping points against one of these teams? Last time we played Olympiacos. Yeah,
we dropped points against Aris as well.
Yeah, I mean, and this happens every season here and there, but I mean, this year it's been prevalent in Europe, in the league, and if we lose the title by 1 or 2 points, I mean, these are the results you're going to look back on. So, I mean, I really think it comes down to us needing to develop a system. We have not seen it happen. Nobody can tell me that Olympiacos has a system for these types of games because we see the same approach, and it's literally just hit and hope. 6 out of 53 crosses. I mean, you're never going to win when that's your approach of attack.
I'll combine it with my next question a bit, because we saw the same approach from Panathinaikos and AEK now, which means that our main opponents in the league are adapting, which was said to be expected, and it actually cost us 4 points. It's not like it cost us nothing. And adding to that, with everyone else adapting to our style, and us having, I wouldn't necessarily put it on a plan, because we have a plan, Mendilibar has a plan. It's that plan. And that plan never changes, even when it needs to. It's not that there is no plan in the game, it's that there is no adaptability, which the league in itself in general is presenting a lot more than usual, which is why we're dropping so many points. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is a guess. I think this is our worst derby record in a while, to say the least. I don't think we've gone with one win, even before the January Mendilibar came in.
I feel like we were really bad in derbies that season specific, and the season before. I mean, how many we went like 18 months or something crazy without beating Panathinaikos. It might have been longer than that.
I mean, that's just we went more without beating Panathinaikos. I'm talking derbies in general.
Well, I know,
like all of them.
I feel like we did really bad in derbies, just in general that season. I could be wrong.
It's for sure been our worst derby record under Mendilibar. That's 100%, for sure.
100%.
And again, throwing out another question: is that because we are kind of sort of dropping off, or are the others just adapting?
I'm going to be honest. I think it has a lot to do with the overall quality of the league improving. And here's my proof for that. It has nothing to do with what we see in the league. Obviously, the league is a lot more competitive now, and you can say that very easily, and that's a low-hanging fruit point to make. When was the last time every single Greek club qualified to the knockout rounds of Europe across 3 different competitions? That says a lot. I mean, and some of the, Ike had a fantastic campaign. PAOK had a pretty strong campaign. Panathinaikos, they were there here and there. But the fact that all of us did, the fact that all the Greek teams that qualified to the league phases, that shows you that the quality is improving. Look at our coefficient the past few years in Europe. The quality is improving. Olympiacos is the biggest part to do with that, but the fact that we took such a leap as quickly as we did with Mendilibar, with some of the players that we brought in, that forces your competition to pick up their investment to improve themselves. So I think that it's both, but I think really the point that stands out to me is I think that top to bottom, the league has improved quite significantly from where it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. But at the same time, you can say that, and that's all well and good. There is the adaptability issue. One of the major issues with Mendilibar, as much as you and I both praise him and aren't one of these people that want to sit here and jump on his back and say that he needs to go, he is an old dog. That's just a fact. They don't like learning new tricks. He likes to play the way he plays because the way he plays has produced results. And I'm not saying that Mendilibar's system should change, wholly, but there are times where you need to be able to have a plan B, an effective plan B. Whether you think that he does have a plan, I'm of the opinion that he trusts his players a little too much and lets them play, which I don't think he should do in these situations. But regardless, you do need either a plan or a more effective plan B, and you have to be able to flip that switch in the middle of a game because, again, this is multiple times this season now where we've been playing against an inferior opponent where they've had a major disadvantage, whether that's a player down or whatever that would be, us being at home, and you're not able to – you look worse after they have that disadvantage. So that's where you do need to be introspective and, work on what we're doing. But I do think that a big part of it is that we are playing in a much different Super League now. I mean, there's a reason Greece is fighting for top 10 in the European coefficients. That's not a fluke or an error. Like, that is a symptom of what we're seeing, and Greek football is improving. Even the national team. I mean, that says something as well. So I think it's both.
That says more than anything, given how bad the national team has been in the past few years. But in regards to the proof you very correctly presented, you didn't really need to go that far. I mean, Olympiacos, the team we played, they're fighting for conference / maybe even Europa, depending on how things go. Like, even that, the last team that I remember that really put up a fight for top 4 is, I'm not gonna count Lamia because they got murdered in the playoffs. Asteras, I think, or Atromitos. What was after? I don't remember which one was after.
I think they both qualified for Europe the same time. I think it was the same season. It was like 17-18, I believe. And then just before that, Yanina one season got into Europe and made a little bit of noise in the qualifiers. But yeah, I mean,
Ofi got Europa like the season before COVID.
Lost to Ukrainian farmers, I remember that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we are seeing more teams getting in the mix for Europe. I mean, other than the big 4 in Addis, I mean, a Greek team hasn't qualified for Europe, and it's been like 5 or 6 years now. So that's another sign
before
that it's
COVID.
Changing. Yeah.
And I mean, Ofi as well. We sort of accidentally stumbled into it, but back-to-back finalists. That doesn't just magically happen. And again, it had been how long until a team outside the Big 4 had made the final. Again, that's maybe over a decade if I'm not going completely insane. But yeah, reeling it back into the game, I want to bring up a player. I want to actually bring up 2 players, one positive, one negative. The positive one I brought up already, and that's Zelson. One of the very few things we ended up being right about when we were talking in August is that we'd see a different Zelson this season. And it took him a minute. It took him a while. But Zelson, I didn't agree with you originally. I'm leaning towards agreeing with you way more now. He's having his best season here. And his most consistent one as well. Because when have we seen Zelson ball out in Europe? Like, I'm sorry, he He was very good in the Conference League, but he wasn't our best player. There's a difference. And in the Champions League,
I don't think he played in the Conference League, did he?
Did he not?
I don't think he made the squad because I think we sign him that winter window. I don't think he made the squad.
Did he miss? Who were our wingers? Oh wait.
It was Dani and I think Masouras. Masouras started against Fenerbahce. I remember that. And
right.
I think Fortounis also played on the wing for us some as well.
Yeah. That happened in Europe as well. That in the end, the background check that for me because I was.
We had João Carvalho. We had João Carvalho in our European squad, and those are some legends.
Yeah, I mean, accidentally. More to my point, we've not really even in Europa. Zelson was good. He was okay. But he wasn't our best player. And this man went on, got us knockouts. Let's not lie to ourselves. He got us knockouts. And even in the league, he's been our, third most productive player? And form-wise, specifically, he's been our most consistent and our best. I made the case for Chiquinho up until, Kairat, and I still believe that held up until then. But Chiquinho, I don't know if it's injuries, I don't know if it's anything. He fell off the face of the earth. And now it's Zelson. And sadly, someone who also fell off the face of the earth ever since he came back. And I don't really blame him, but we do need to talk about it. Ayub El-Khabdi. I'm not gonna go ahead and talk about some stuff that I had finished, like this and that. Doesn't deserve to renew. That's crazy. That came from a journalist. That he doesn't deserve the renewal. That's crazy. But we need to do something about El-Khabdi. I don't think that it's that much physical exhaustion anymore, as much as mental. When have you seen El-Khabdi miss the chances that he did on Saturday? Both of them. No? All three of them, actually. The shot, the overhead, the header, and the shot. When has El-Khabdi gone with 1 goal in 5 games? He's been back for 5 games, right?
I believe so.
I think so. And he scored 1 goal. He comes back injured. Even though we learned that very late, he comes back injured. He plays. He plays okay. And then we move on. He misses a game. I think he was out for just a game. Was it a game or was it 2? He was out for 1, fully out. He was out for a game, wasn't he? Then he was on the bench.
Wasn't it that he missed fully? Because that was when Clayton got the play.
Yeah, and then he was on the bench, wasn't he?
Yes. The next match was Ike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, obviously, like you said, it sounds like he came back injured, but I also wonder if part of how the AFCON went for Morocco, I mean, they didn't just lose the final. It was a pretty humiliating final for both teams for reasons that had nothing to do with football. And he did really just rush back from that. So, I mean, that could be part of it, but I think part of it as well is, I mean, he comes right back in at the most high-stakes, high-pressure part of our season. Asking any player to just step back into that after you've been away from the club for a month is a big ask. But like you said, obviously you and I both have infinite allegiance to Ayub El-Khabdi. I think that every Olympiacos fan should. As you said earlier, any comments that he shouldn't be renewed or offered renewal are absolutely insane. I think he's one of a few players that's ever played for this club that should be written a blank check to re-sign as long as he would like to. But at the same time, it does need to be talked about and recognized. And I think going forward, as long as there aren't injury issues, I think this is probably the first time this season where you look and you say, Mehdi Taremi is our number one striker. He has to be. Again, I love Ayoub El-Kabi. I'm not writing him off as a player in any regard, but Mehdi has played far too well in Ayoub's absence to not be given that responsibility. And part of the beauty of having a player like Mehdi and a player like Clayton, who again, very early days with him, we don't really know what we have there yet. But having two players who can push, someone like Ayoub El-Kabi, that has to be leveraged to its benefit of, listen, you maybe you don't start him and you make him have to really get back into his speed and his rhythm to compete for that spot again. He's a competitor. We know he's a competitor. I don't think he's the sort of player who's going to, throw a fit about that. We need to win games. It is what it is. And sometimes having that competition and maybe switching the roles around, that can bring the best out of players. And, one of the things that I don't worry about really with anyone in the squad is the professionalism that comes along with that and the understanding that losing your role, just my opinion, losing your role when you're in a slump, that's an opportunity. That's not a slight against you. And especially someone like Ayoub, he's been around the team for 3 years now. He should know better than anyone what he means to this club and the importance that he has here. But we're do or die right now. And if he's in that situation, it's like, okay, give us the best 30 minutes you can give us every game. Get a couple goals, get your confidence back up, and then when you're ready, back to the starting spot. I think that's the approach that you have to take without any of the nonsense that you see, floating around the media or social media or whatever it is. Ayoub El-Kabi is still who he is, and a temporary slump doesn't change that.
I might hang up a comment. We'll get to it in a bit because it's certainly a talk. But in regards to Ayoub, it's not only that he wouldn't mind losing his role. I feel like he'd do anything to get back to the best, his game. But I think he wants the best for the club as well. That's why Ayoub, I'm not going to be as confident in everyone as you were, but I think Ayoub is one of the few that you don't have to worry about at all. And I don't. If this happened with some others, I'd say that may affect the renewal. But with Ayoub, I don't think anything will affect the renewal. Like, realistically speaking, it's getting closer and closer. I'm still of firm belief that Ayoub El-Kabi will renew his contract. And I'm still of the firm belief that Ayoub El-Kabi will renew his contract for good. People are talking about 2+1, 3. I think he retires here. I think both he and the club want it to happen. Unless he wants to go play in Saudi for a year or back at home for a year, that's fine. Yusuf El Arabi went to France for a year or two, even though he's balling out in league. And then that's just El Arabi things. But yeah, wouldn't be worried. And I hesitantly agree that we need to start Mehdi Taremi, even though I am still of the opinion that you get the best out of Taremi when he comes off the bench. But I think it's maybe a bit of a double-edged sword, but I think it will get the best out of both of them because I think it would boost the confidence of both of them. Now, before we get into Marinakis and all that, this comment Καλησπέρα από την κατακόκκινη Ρόδο. Είμαι σίγουρος ότι την Τετάρτη οι ίδιοι παίκτες θα παίξουν τελείως διαφορετικά, που αυτό σημαίνει ότι διαλέγουν παιχνίδια. I actually had this convo a bit before we started, and I want your opinion. Do you grasp on the meaning of what he's saying?
A bit. My Greek is not the best.
Yeah, that's fine. That players pick and choose some game. Not all of them, but some players pick and choose game.
I mean, I think part of that is I really do think Olympiacos is a team that plays up to opponents and sometimes plays down to opponents. I don't think it's necessarily picking and choosing games as much as I think that it's a lot of times with high-level teams that play in a league like Olympiacos, you'll see similar things like with the Turkish teams or with like a team like Dinamo Zagreb. You'll see them like they'll play better in Europe than they will at home sometimes. And I think Olympiacos falls into that category occasionally. When you're playing in the Champions League, it's a different beast, right? You're in that environment. The stadium is louder, the lights are brighter, and I think for a lot of our guys, playing that underdog role puts more pressure on the other team. Like we saw the same thing with Leverkusen when we played them last month. They looked under pressure. When Olympiacos plays teams in Europe, we're not the team under pressure usually, but that's flipped in the league, especially for a lot of these smaller games where, again, all the expectation is on Olympiacos when we play teams like Levadiakos, when we play teams like Kifisias, when we play teams like Asteras. And that can be a very prominent mental block. And it also has to do with the way that teams play. In Europe, everyone's going to play, face to face, right? It's not going to be usually, again, I say usually because we played Paphos and Kairat this season. Usually they're just going to play. We don't get that same experience in Greece. So I don't really think it's a situation of players picking and choosing. I think it goes deeper into the psychological aspect of just completely different scenarios and the different position that the team finds themselves in based on the opponent they play. I kind of disagree that it's players just picking and choosing and deciding which games they turn up for.
First of all, in the category of clubs that you said, in the last few years, you can put Panathinaikos there as well. And because, again, they beat us, celebrated like they won the league, and went and drew to Larissa. So, that says enough. Their season is done. I will, 90% agree with you, but go on that 10% playing a bit of devil's advocate, because we've seen this before. We've seen this with a lot of players, not necessarily from this squad, but we've seen this from former Olympiacos players a lot. I would just add that asterisk up there, that players play better in Europe when they want to leave as well. Not necessarily want to leave Olympiacos, but players play better in Europe because they want to impress clubs and have more eyes on them, and they know that won't happen in a league like the Super League in a random Sunday against Asteras Tripolis, for example. And again, I'm not saying that necessarily, at least, as a bad thing. I just feel like it happens. Again, not with everyone. I'm not talking about the Esses, I'm not talking about the Celson. But the name that always comes to mind when we're having this talk is Madi Camara. I feel like that's the prime example of that category. So I feel like that will always be there, but not necessarily because the players pick and choose, because they don't care about the league or the good of the club. But because that selfish factor of an athlete it's always there. It's always on the back of the mind for a few, not necessarily the entire squad. And again, not necessarily from this squad, but football in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only point about that is I think we would really be able to tell, and I think that what you said at the end about it not necessarily being the squad, absolutely we've had players like that in the past. Im Huang was another one who the same sort of thing. I think we would notice it with this squad. I mean, it really, like we said earlier, it really was everybody. I mean, outside of a couple players, I mean, everyone played very poorly on Saturday, and everyone played very poorly last week and the week before. So I think that really, in my opinion, kind of rules out any sort of just like, oh, you have these individuals in the squad who they only want to turn up for this and that, especially because this squad out of any has the most players who would have that to play for. Because I mean, the players that we mentioned from these previous squads, right? I mean, they're also tending to be some of our younger players, or players that still had their peak before them to be able to make a move like that. Because the majority of our squad was guys at the back end of their 20s or early mid 30s. That's not the case anymore. A lot of our guys are either in or before their prime. So I would agree that it is something that has happened before and it'll probably happen again, but I don't think it applies to this squad.
I mean, I can drop a name. Not from this squad, that's not from a player that's here now, but from a player that's technically on loan. And I've said this before, this is not the first time I'm going to be saying this. Straveca. Like the guy had 2 assists against Real Madrid and couldn't one still an assist against Real Madrid.
Oh, I mean, he had an incredible game.
And he couldn't score against Asteras. Like, come on. So again, my point is that this happens. But not with the players here now. Am I going to be proven very wrong if we go out and qualify and then lose to PAOK again? Probably. And then we'll have a different talk. But for now, as things stand, I don't necessarily think that any of the boys here now would act like that. We mentioned this a bit ago, and I want your full opinion. We've also more or less what everyone said, what Panos said, what Danny said, both Garcia and Danny Podence, and what Marinakis said, what Marinakis promised. And I'm not going to ask the obvious stuff like, do you believe all that and stuff like that? I'm going to ask something a bit different. Are you surprised of who stepped up with Marinakis? Or did you expect exactly those people to step up and talk to the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have seen the specific comments from the players. That I saw, summaries of what Marinakis said. But in reference to who stepped up, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, we obviously know Panos is our leader. He's the soul of this team for sure. And the Danis, I mean, obviously Dani Garcia has not been here as long. He's the least tenured. But we knew what kind of player he was and what kind of personality he was. We've talked about it. I think we're at a point with Dani Garcia that he offers more off the pitch than on the pitch in terms of his experience and his professionalism. I will criticize the way that he plays, 7 ways till Sunday. I will never question the kind of veteran leader presence that he brings. And Danny Podence, you can almost say a similar thing. He's obviously not as much of a veteran as Dani Garcia, but I mean, he's probably spent more years in the first team of Olympiacos than even Panos Retsos has at this point. So he's one of those guys out of all the foreigners in the squad who absolutely knows the ins and outs of the club better than most. So that's who I honestly would have expected. I mean, you can't have half the team step up. I'm one of those guys that I really think that there's probably 7 or 8 or 9 guys on this team that have those leader qualities. But obviously, when you're in a meeting with your owner and the staff, you only
who are the 7, 8, 9 guys?
I mean, I could see Ayub being one of those players personally. I could see Tsolakis, despite the fact that he's young, he's captained this team before. So I could see that. Chiquinho, I could see. Trying to think who else. Biancon might be a weird shout, but I think he's one of those. Again, he's a total mentality guy. I mean,
I agree with that more than the previous two.
Again, difference of opinion. Point being, I think we have a lot of very sound personalities in this squad, and a lot of guys who I could absolutely see speaking up in that setting. But I mean, of the ones that did speak up, I mean, you probably have to argue that those are the 3 that you would most expect, in my opinion. I mean, all of them are veterans. All of them, maybe with the exception of Dani Garcia, know this club very intimately. And know what it means.
The other 2 know the club. Dani knows Mendilibar. I feel like that's.
Yes. Okay. For a second, I misunderstood which Danny you were talking about. Exactly. That's the perfect way of putting it.
Again, to actually explain where I disagree, Chiquinho and Ayub are amazing. No, both of them are veterans. I think it's safe to say that both of them are veterans. But I think they both fit in the category that they will always offer more on the pitch than off it. Like I don't think that, again, not comparing exactly, but I don't think Ayub El Kabi would ever do what El Arabi did in the Conference League. I don't think that would ever happen. I don't think Chiquinho would actually go and take initiative off the pitch. I don't think he'd ever be a Dani Garcia type of player. Chiquinho could be 37 and get you 2 assists and a goal. I wholeheartedly believe that. But I don't think that it's in the personality. It's not bad. It's just a different category of players. And again, you flip that, and then you have Tsolakis, as you said, who will make 6 crucial saves and then go to halftime and pull out the best motivational speech that you've ever seen. It's 3 categories, and we thankfully have all 3. And I think it's a perfect amount of all 3. Now, the thing is to see that on the goddamn pitch. Because it's time. Because a major problem this season has been that, except from Retsos, and on fewer occasions, but still there, Dani Podence, no one has really stepped up as a lead. And Tsolakis, but the goalkeeper can't really do that much. I mean, he won us the game against Leverkusen, but aside from that, what do you expect from the goalkeeper? So from outfielders only, it's been Retsos and it's been Dani Podence. We really need more people to start stepping it up. And I don't necessarily just mean football-wise. Like, come on.
I think one player I look at for that I, for some reason, didn't think of earlier, Rodine. He's having a rough season on the pitch, similar to Dani Garcia, who's also having a rough season on the pitch. But again, you're seeing him step up in other ways. That's one of the areas I would expect someone like Rodine to be more vocal and to be more involved in that aspect. I guess now that I think about it, maybe he's the one player I'm kind of surprised who doesn't come up in that mention. Because he's also been around, he's been around the club longer than most people in the squad right now. I mean, he came in during
it's been
Martinez.
3.5 years now.
Yeah. So that's definitely one individual I look at. I'm like, okay, where's that from you? Because you're not giving what you've been giving on the pitch the past 3 years. So maybe it's time to step up in another capacity, which could also end up helping your game, because if you're becoming a leader and it's boosting your confidence, it's boosting your teammates' confidence, so that could do something for you on the pitch. But yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, it's nice to see it happening, but it needs to happen on the pitch. There needs to be more than just one or two guys who step up on the pitch. And we're going to have more difficult games and more difficult times this season. We have to see it. Otherwise, unfortunately, this is another one of those situations where, I mean, we thought we turned the corner after the Leverkusen matches. I mean, the Leverkusen and Ajax. We're looking forward to the Leverkusen matches.
After the power close.
Yeah, I mean, we thought at that point, okay, we've turned the corner, we figured it out, and then we haven't. So it's on those guys that were mentioned. It's on guys that maybe didn't speak up, who should have, and everyone in between. I mean, anyone can step up and be that voice and be that leader. It's free to do. I mean, anybody can do that whenever they want. But it has to start happening on a consistent basis, because getting back to Mendilibar as well, we can put blame on him for the game planning and the team preparation, but like he can't play. He can't be out there on the pitch. To a certain point, you do have to rely on your guys who are out there playing to be able to fill in those gaps for the manager, because he can't be shouting instructions to every player 70 yards away on the pitch. So that's, again, where I think a lot of that criticism is unfair, because it's like, okay, well, he can only do so much. It's time for his deputies on the squad, whoever those may be, those three names that we mentioned, if there's more than that, those guys as well, speak up, back your manager up, be his voice on the pitch, because he's not going to be able to have that influence for every single player at all times.
And it goes back to what I said earlier before we get into the UCL and wrap up. Supposedly, at least, after Panathinaikos, the players came out and said that, yeah, it's on us. Like, we take responsibility for the loss. It wasn't planning. It was psychological. It's on us. We'll pick up. And then they go and draw with Olympiacos. Like, come on. They have to step it up. Like, that's not even just going at the players. It's just a matter of fact. They have to step up if they want to win the league. And if we don't win the league, a lot of them are done.
Yeah, and they're too good not to. I mean, that's part of, again, why we're having this conversation. We wouldn't be talking about this, 23, 24 before Mendilibar came in. This wouldn't even be a conversation, right? To a certain point, it's almost a compliment to the players that we can even sit here and say that we expect more out of them, because we know that they have it in them. Back to my point, whether people agree with me or not, this is a very sound squad as it comes to the personalities and the professionalism, top to bottom. I mean, I really don't think there's any one player you could look at in the squad and say that guy is potentially a locker room issue, or that guy has a bad mentality. Granted, there's scales to it, and I think certain players have much better mentalities than other players, but for the most part, very unproblematic group and a very talented group. So the expectations have to match that. That's not, like you said, it's not going at anybody. We wouldn't even be saying it if we didn't think that it was in this group. So that's just, again, the nice words to hear about taking responsibility, but you have to be able to show it.
I'm fully with you. I shook my head because I thought we were talking football ability, not personality. That's why. And then that's why I was like, But yeah. Getting into what we've been circling around, that's coming very fast. I don't know when we got here, but we got here. Leverkusen in 2 days. I don't think. Of course, the excitement is still there of being after so many years being into the Champions League knockouts. I don't think we've waited to see a more unpredictable tie, because I promise you, I don't know what's going to happen. All three scenarios are very possible. We can lose badly. It can be closer than ever, or we can destroy them. All of them are there. It only depends on how we show up. If we show up like last time, we're losing. Because I'm sorry, miracles happen once. We should have lost that game. I've said it before. You've said it before. We've all said it before. And it's not sustainable to rely on your keeper to make seven crucial saves. That's unbelievable. That's still unbelievable. You can't rely on that. You need to show up. Will they show up? I believe they will. I really, truly believe they will. But let me present a scenario, because we've been talking about adaptability. We think a Leverkusen, that's also in a bit of a freefall. I think they just barely beat St. Pauli, if I'm not completely mistaken. But yeah, they've had some.
They thrashed St. Pauli.
Oh, they did? Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was not even. They were up 3-0 at 50 minutes, so it wasn't even close.
Yeah, just don't listen to me, I guess. But yeah, they've had some crazy performances as well. What if they adapt? They've played us before. They know how we play. What if we go out and they counter?
They played us before, and since playing us, they have won 5 out of 6 matches. And the one match they didn't win, they drew away to Mönchengladbach.
Oh.
So, chances are,
so indeed,
they are going to be. We might as well consider this a completely different team from who we played a month ago, but I do think the same takeaways apply, at least tactically, with this team. And what we didn't do well enough in that previous match, we have got to keep them out of the wide areas. I think that's the biggest thing. That was my biggest takeaway. When you let them get to the touchline or get out wide of your fullback, I mean, their best players, Grimaldo, Lucas Vazquez, even though he was horrible against us, even some of their midfielders that like to drift out wide. We cannot let them beat us from those areas. When they did get success against us, that was where it was coming from.
And their best defender is going to be back as well.
And what is their goal? Because that was one of the other issues as well. So they had, let's see. So I think they are still going to have their backup goalkeeper. So that's.
I think so as well.
I think so. That's the best thing that we can. Yeah, Mark Flecken's not back until March. Yeah. It's saying. So that's really the only positive. Again, we won last time because we were clinical on our chances, where Leverkusen weren't as much. Granted, they had the opportunities, and the Inzolakis had to make several very good saves. To a degree, I would say they weren't very clinical. We need to be. But I think defensively, we really have to look back at that Leverkusen game. And I would even say back at some of the other matches that we lost in the Champions League. Look at the Real Madrid match. Where were they beating us from? It's the same issues in the Champions League with this team.
Arsenal as well.
They torch our fullbacks. They torch our fullbacks, which pulls our center backs out. What I hope Mendilibar start Rodine and Costinha together on the same side. Have them.
Surely he does.
We have to. I mean, literally, any other scenario, I think Leverkusen beats us 4-0. Like, literally, they will skin us alive. And I would honestly almost consider doing the same thing on the left side with
that's too much. Like, you can't leave both Danny and Zelson on the bench. That's too much.
Or you start Zelson as a striker or a false nine or whatever it is. My concern with this team, I really think we need to focus on not letting Leverkusen score in this match and try to somehow take a lead, because my concern is that this team is steamrolling right now.
Hello, I'm fully with you.
The Bundesliga.
Yeah. I'm fully with you, but we are never scoring. If we start 4 fullbacks, especially these 4, we are never scoring. So I think you go with the right side that you have, hoping that Costinha will play like he did against Leverkusen, not after. Hopefully, because at least domestically, he was good versus Ajax. But domestically, he has not been okay. Like, he's been very, especially in the derbies, he was bad. Go with that right side.
He's getting Hitler memes for a reason.
That was insane. That was absolutely insane. You go with that right side. That's, at least in Europe, that's a guarantee. And then you go with Ortega and Zelson, for me. And then I am praying. Or you go with Ortega and Andre Luis, and you put Zelson at 10. I'm also happy with that. But ideally, you start 2 wingers and are comfortable, but I don't know if you can do that against this Leverkusen. Ideally, you put Zelson on the left and you start Chigenio. I am hoping and praying, that we don't go 4-4-2. I am praying that we play normally. Because I'm sorry, but if we start with both El Gabi and Taremi, it's over. It's game over. I'm 99% sure it's game over.
I think if you do a 4-4-2, you either have to start Zelson or Andre Luis next to Taremi, because I assume it's going to be Taremi starting. You need a faster player in that other striker position.
Let me rephrase. The 4-4-2 like that, yeah. But if we start El Gabi and Taremi, like, that's not worked against who did we? Not Panathinaikos. Like, was it Kifissia? Was it a draw against Kifissia? I think it was. Or was it Aris? Which one?
I don't remember. I know they both started against Ike and we won. I'm trying to remember the other.
Yeah, and they both started against Panathinaikos and we lost.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think, for whatever reason, for Olympiacos, usually that is a very effective way of lining up. Having 2 strikers normally causes other teams
those
big problems.
Don't work together.
I think it literally just comes down to with that. And El Gabi, he's quick, but he's not rapid. He's not like
he's not quick enough.
No, you really need players around him, and if you're not going to have the 2 wingers, you have to have someone next to him who can cover his space as well. Because otherwise, like you said, it collapses Mendilibar's system when you don't have that top line pressure. That is what opens us up and exposes us.
It just collapse. It's exactly just goes against the whole system.
Yeah.
We say our 11s, and I feel like they will be very different from each other. Do we dare do predictions? Do we dare a new prediction?
I mean, I am notoriously bad at predicting and having any idea what's going to happen. I'm like you. I genuinely think we're either going to win 4-0 or we're going to lose 4-0. I mean, that's
I mean, I'm with you.
that's all I can say.
Let's just do 11. Let's avoid. I mean, you are a continent away. I'm getting torched. I am getting torched. I mean, hopefully, again, I mean, even the defense has a big if. Hopefully, it's Ortega, Pirola, Rechos, Costiña. Anything else is already something to watch out for. Again, hopefully, it's Esemuzakiris. I can still go.
Those have to be the first two names on the sheet. If they do not start together, we're going to lose. Plain and simple. That is my opinion. If you don't start these two guys, I might not even watch the game. I mean, there is no point.
I'm not going to go that far, but I'm with you.
No, I'm not going to go that far either. I say that. I've watched this team I watched this the entire 90 minutes lose 5-0 to Freiburg. I'll obviously watch, but I'm going to know what's going to happen. Those are the two.
I'll always bring up the same example. I was there for Haifa. Nothing's going to stop me from watching.
But those have to be the first two. I mean, I think more than any other position on the pitch, that partnership. Every match that we've gotten a result in Europe this season, they've started together. They have to start together. Like that should be without question, unless somebody's injured.
We've had enough. We've had enough. I'm still going with Chiquinho. I feel like that midfield three, I feel like it's still by far our most effective, and I don't want to see two up front. I really don't. I'm a bit tired of that system under Mendilibar because it really works. I'm still going to go with Zelson and Rodinei, even though I won't be mad if it's Zelson and Danny, but I am going to what we said a couple of episodes ago, that Danny now, in Europe at least, would probably give much more off the bench than starting. And up front, I will still go with Ayoub El-Kabi. I feel like I trust him a bit more against a Leverkusen team. If they play like last time, they'll be very high up. They will apply the same pressure that we do, more or less. And if they play like last time, I don't trust Taremi to start against that back line. And that's not against Taremi that much, at least for me. I trust El-Kabi to make these unbelievably calculated runs. Like, that's never going to go away from Ayoub El-Kabi. And if that doesn't work, you take him out at like the hour mark, and when they are dead tired, you put on Taremi, that scored some of the most out of nowhere late goals, both in Europe and in the league. I feel like that's how I'd go, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, obviously, in the back five defenders and goalkeeper, I'm 100% with you there. Muzakidis, as again, like I said, those have to be the first two names. I think I would, because I would rather. I disagree with you on El-Kabi. I haven't seen it from him recently to be able to give him the benefit of that doubt. So I would say go with Mehdi, and for that reason, I would also make a change at the 10 from what you said. I would like to see Dani start at the 10 because he is more mobile than Chiquinho. Chiquinho is another one of those players, for whatever reason, is hitting a slump. And not starting those two gives you the benefit of bringing them off the bench. So I think there's that. Obviously, Zelson has to start. So I guess I will recant my Harambal suggestion. So he will start on the left. But like you said, Rodine has to start.
I'm more than good with the 4 fullbacks when needed. If I ever see that as a starting 11, I'm reporting the post for misinformation.
I don't know. I'm worried about them out wide, but the left hand side for them, which is our right, is obviously that's what we absolutely have to shut down. You need to be able to trap Grimaldo outside. So those two have to be no brainer. The reason I would say Zelson over Andre Luis, I don't know how Andre Luis tracks back. I haven't seen him play enough to know if that's a consistent part of his game. That is definitely a part of Zelson's game, and one of the things that has impressed me a lot about him this season, past his contributions attacking, is the fact that he has shown that he will absolutely track back and he will help cover his fullback. But yeah, I mean that's what I would personally go with. I wouldn't be upset with starting El Kabi or Chiquinho. I don't think either of them are playing well enough right now, and I would rather see us try something because you can bring them off the bench. And like you said with Taremi and being able to bring him off, well, I think the same applies to Ayub. I mean, I would almost say
both are fair.
But for me, bring Ayub off the bench when they are dead tired, between the two of them, he can actually run them into the ground. Taremi can't.
Yeah, it's what aspect you look at. It's Ayub's speed, Ayub's acceleration, and Taremi's ability to just appear magically out of thin air. So it's concentration and speed against positioning. It's again both fair, and I'd be fully okay with either. In regards to what you said about Chiquinho, if we start Taremi, I am more okay with seeing Dani start at the 10, because I think as much as Chiquinho fits El Kabi perfectly, I don't think he fits that well with Taremi, if that makes sense. And in regards to Zelson, you go to my point before me. I was going to say that even if you want defensive help, Zelson is still the best choice because he gives 100% on both ends this season. And it goes back to the talk we had. This is Zelson's best season because this is the first season where he tracks back constantly. And we've seen the same thing from Dani Podence, but Dani Podence is 170. I'm not gonna put that on Dani Podence. So it will be Zelson. And even if Andre Luis comes in and defends better, it's better to bring him on late on. Just hopefully not in the 85th. Depending on how the game goes, of course.
That's one of the other points I wanted to make before we wrap up. For Mendilibar specifically, we cannot, unless we are winning and playing extremely well, we cannot make late subs. You're playing in a 2-game competition right now.
Oh, but we will.
I'm sure we will. You've seen it happen all season, but I hope and pray that this is the one time that he decides to buck his own routine, because the margin is so small. It's 2 matches and that's it. Your campaign is decided by these 2 games. On adaptability, you have to be able to quickly adapt. You can't wait until 85, because as hard as it is to score against Olympiacos when they're defending a result, it's going to be even harder to score against a team like Leverkusen. So
I thought you said it would be even harder to defend against a team like Leverkusen, and I think both statements are true. So it's not just the when, it's the who as well. Now, I think it's safe to wrap up. I think this was a very good mini return after like 5-6 days like an hour and 15. And yeah, busy week. Very busy, very, very important games all around. So you'll probably be seeing my face a lot. But I think we'll see both of us on Wednesday night, hopefully. Hopefully
my work allows it, but I should
Yeah,
be
I
in
mean,
a decent spot.
I mean, we've said this many times. I've said this many times even when you're not here. Life is life, and we plan accordingly, right? It's just thoughts. It's general thoughts. I wish we could both be here like semi-daily. But yeah, that's about it from today. As always, 2026 has started very weirdly, but big things are coming. Whether they should already be here or are in the works, both are going to be here very soon. And as always, thank you.